So happy to introduce our guest, my boy, Brandon Scott, the host on Locked On Wizards podcast. How you doing, bro?
I'm making it, man. You know, another day in the life.
Hey, start that over. hey, look, hey, we're gonna put that in though. Hey, that's gonna be a boom. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the Chocolate City Hoops podcast. It's your host, DJ. And today we have a great episode lined up. And our guest today, so happy to introduce this cat, man, the host on Locked On Wizards podcast, my boy, Brandon Scott. How you doing, boy?
Chilling, man. You know, another day in the life, man.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate
Yes,
the
sir.
invite.
So today we got a good episode planned out. We're going to talk about really everything that's happened, for the most part, kind of overview of what the Wizards have done this summer. Right? We're going to talk about a little bit of the Olympics and things like that. And then, you know, just like we did last time, we're gonna test a little bit of trivia for my boy Brandon here. All right. So let's go ahead and run it. Let's go ahead and get this drink, most importantly, in.
Sir.
Hey.
Appreciate the invite, man.
Yes, sir. Hey, look, hold on. Last time people said I wasn't finishing my drink. I'm gonna be sipping this time. All right. I'll see. Dang, like this is what I'm talking about, man. Like Brandon already finished his drink. Hey, you need some?
Nah, I'm a
All
patient.
right, look. All right, we good, man. So, hey, Brandon, hey, man, again, thank you for being here. Thank you for being on the pod. It truly means a lot, man.
Yes, sir.
Why don't we just go ahead and get into, like I asked Ed the last time, man, because I want to ask all the guests that come on to the show, right? How did you become a Wizards fan? And the reason why I like to ask this question is because, yes, in the DMV, right, we like to be Wizards fans, but you've also seen anytime we go to the Cap, right, Capital One Arena, and you know, sometimes you be seeing a lot of other fans, whether it's Lakers, whether it's Boston, it's a sea of green, a sea of yellow and purple.
Oh, yeah.
So, hey, man, what's your story?
Oh, I grew up raised in Northern Virginia, Loudoun County, so, you know, I was a fan since the Bullet days. You know, Chris Webber, John Howard, Rod Strickland was my guy. But I was a kid, man, so I didn't really follow like I did, you know, so I didn't really follow till around the Gilbert Arenas era, and that was right about the time getting out of high school, going in the military. So Gilbert Arenas was my guy, and then John Wall. So, just being from the DMV, man. You know, when I was a kid, I took any chance I could to go into the city. Love DC, man. So, you know, DC sports just been my thing since day one. So
here's my thing, though. Why, you know, I know I'm going to get off topic here because this is so passionate to me, though. But DC to me is just such a mecca of talent. Well, everybody knows that the DMV got talent. Let's not get it twisted. Everybody knows the DMV got talent. You know what I'm saying? Like, you going through the ranks, whether it's AAU or whatever. But it's like DC to me should be like a destination for most free agents to want to come to. You know what I'm saying? Like, whether it's culture, whether it's food, whether it's a history, you know, it's literally the most powerful city in the world. You know? So, like, why not want to come here? And, you know, that's the reason why it's called the Chocolate City Hoops podcast. You know, back in the day, a lot of people of color was here, right? So, all right, let's go ahead and get right into it, though. We're going to talk about a little bit of the latest news, right? And we're just going to skim through this because I really want to get to the Olympic stuff, right? But let's talk about this the sign and trade with Jonas, right?
Yes,
to be honest, I don't even remember, like, the full details of the trade because at first it looked like it was just a free agent signing. Mm-hmm. So, what are your thoughts on the Jonas trade? And then I'll tell you mine.
Oh, good signing, man. It shows that Will Dawkins is playing chestnut checkers. You look at the fact that the Lakers were looking at him at first. The Knicks need a center. So he grabbed somebody who's a vet who's going to be able to teach, mentor Alex Sarr. And then on cheap contract, 3 years, $30 million. So he's going to be able to flip that quick. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to say the only low side of it, but, you know, at 32, what can you really expect from Jonas at this point? You know, his skill set is diminishing a little bit, but he's still a hot commodity. So he's going to be able to flip him and get some assets back and be able to find a mentor for Alex Sarr because Lord knows he needs one right now. And you know, I think it's a good move, man, on Will Dawkins' part. You know, a lot of these vets he's going to be able to flip. So, good move.
I laughed, but the truth of the matter is, like, after that Summer League performance, and actually I do want to touch on something after this, but after the Summer League performance, you know, I had a lot of like, faith in Sarr for Summer League. Obviously, that didn't come to be. Like I said in the last episode, right, I still trust his coaching staff. Like, a lot of people didn't want Brian Keefe to be the coach. Yeah. Because it's like, oh, why bring in somebody off the bench? But let's be honest, like Michael Winger, Will Dawkins, like they already brought him in to be on the last coaching staff because they, that was their guy,
Well, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm just losing the name right now. I don't know why, but it is what it is. Like, but yeah, they brought him in on purpose, and they knew that he was probably going to be the coach. And you've seen, the development that he's done. So we talked about Denny earlier offline. Like we saw what he did with him. We saw what he's going to do with some of these young guys. So point is, right, I'm not going to get back into everything I said in the last pod, but I have faith in Brian that he'll get the job done. But going back to Jonas, yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you, man. Like Jonas, big body, big center, right? Probably haven't had a big body center like that since, I don't know what, Gortat, Mahimi, maybe, like, I don't know. I can't even remember the last time we had an actual big body center that can go down there, post up, bang up. Because, I mean, even, who was the last center that we had, big dude that went over to Boston?
Kristaps Porzingis.
Yeah, Kristaps. Even Kristaps, right? He was big, but he wasn't like stocky. So it's like his post moves were kind of more so like fadeaway type stuff.
Yeah.
But point is, Jonas, he'll be a big body, right? We saw that Sarr, he's still developing. He's probably gonna mostly play the four, and I mean it's just maybe he'll teach him how to be a grown man, down there in the paint, because he kind of got baptized a couple times in that summer league. So, but no, again, really hype. Have a lot of faith in the coaching staff. So what I really want to say is because this was on your podcast, right? And you convinced me of this. Donovan Clingan, right? Let me ask you this. Was Donovan Clingan your first choice at number 2 because you thought Sarr was going to go number 1? Or was he just overall like, hey man, like the potential, what I see, like I like Clingan here?
Good question, man. I mean, it's a personal preference. I mean, I like players that I know what to expect from them. I know what the game is, right? Look at Clingan, 7'3", 280 pounds. He got the NBA body. He's a guy who he's going to hold the paint down. He's going to be a rim protector. Now, can he roll with a team that wants to push the pace? That was a big question, because this team was number 1 in pace last year in the second half. So this is a team that wants to run. But Clingan, I mean, the NBA body. I mean, I get the concept of drafting for what they could be. Like if you look at Bilal, very raw. They're looking at what he could be down the road.
Right.
Alex Sarr, same thing. So I looked at him. I knew what to expect. I knew he was going to come in. I knew he was going to do his job. And kind of the same thing Cam Whitmore. The whole argument with Cam Whitmore. Cam's going to come in. He's going to be a high flyer. He's going to be a high scorer. So it is, to me, and it's just me personally, when I know what a player can do, then I can easily know where to fit him. You know what I mean? As opposed to Alex Sarr, he's not heavy enough to play center. And right now, he doesn't have the aggression to really be, you know what I mean? So that's why I rode with Clingan, man.
Man, and you convinced me too, because I started looking at highlights. I started looking at Clingan. I said, okay. And then they, everybody puts out like that that little pre-draft footage, and he was sinking threes. I said, hey man, that might be it. And low key, I was kind of like, I'm not mad if we get Sarr, but Clingan, if we get him, I'll be just as hyped if we did. I mean, he did pretty well in summer league. But look, like I said, I'm okay with the Sarr choice. I like it. We're gonna be fine. So let's get on to the next news, right? The Tyus fumble, right? Honestly, I think this can really be quick. They should have just traded him during the last deadline and just called it because, and maybe I'll get into this in another pod, but maybe I'm in the minority, but I think you have this same sentiment. I actually just think Poole could just be the full-time PG. Like I think the combination of trying to put like Poole off ball and having him be the shooting guard and Tyus, it just wasn't working. Yeah. I think they really wanted Tyus. Tyus wanted the opportunity to start. He got that. He did the same thing he's always done anywhere else, right? Low turnovers, protecting the ball, and honestly did well from what you would expect from him from what he's had in the past.
Oh, yeah.
So when his stock is, pretty high and someone's offering you like, I don't know, I think the rumor was like 3 to 4 seconds.
Oh, yeah.
You take it. Like you just take it. And now you was trying to be greedy and get a first round pick. And now he walks for nothing. So I'm really happy for him. Yeah. Right? He gets to go to I think he signed with the Suns.
Yes, sir.
KD, Bill.
Oh, yeah.
Book, right? So I think, he'll definitely be good because he's going to be able to facilitate all those guys. I think before Phoenix might have had like Bill or Book playing points, so they're going to be good, right? I don't know. Do you have anything on the Tyus?
Tyus was I surprised by us getting nothing for him? Nah, because I knew that there was a chance that he was going to walk for free.
Yeah.
No, I knew that was a chance. Now, obviously, you're looking at the KP trade. You want to see some kind of return for that, And right now, you're looking at it where we really didn't get return. But look at the flip side of the coin. KP was going to walk for nothing anyways, too. Yeah. So you really, you don't lose, you don't gain. It's just you have what you have. It's kind of one of those moves where. So I mean, Jordan Poole needs to be guy at point. I mean, again, looking at last year, the second half, first in pace. Yeah. And not only that, I'm gonna tell you what impressed me with Jordan Poole, because I'm gonna throw a funny story out there, man. Is that he went through his L's. I mean, he went through massive L's. I mean, he took smoke from almost every major sports platform, if not only in the country, in the world.
That comes from when you go from a big time market like Golden State, and then all of a sudden, like, you go to for whatever reason they consider DC small market, and it's like they expect you to automatically like do exactly the same thing.
Exactly.
So I'm sorry.
I mean, he impressed me, man, because he kept working. He took L. I mean, he took massive L's. He Shaq the fool. I mean, we gave him some noise on my platform, but I always said on my platform, man, I said, look, he's got too much talent to fail. Too much talent to fail. I mean, he's struggling right now, but too much talent to fail. So I went in there in press conference. I forget what game it was, man. And this is when he was struggling. And I asked him a question. I said, how you deal with the outside noise? And he goes like this. He looks at me. I ain't worried about that outside noise. So I was like, all right.
That's the way it should be.
There you go, man.
That's the way it should be.
But in the exit interviews, I went in there and I said, look, man, you took your L's, but you kept working, did your thing. Even shout out the podcast. Best free publicity ever, man. Because Jordan Poole was like, man, I heard you on the podcast. But so the players listen.
Yeah.
My platform, your platform, they listen. I'm saying, because they want the pulse of the local fan base. They want that. So, looking at Tyus, I'm not surprised. I mean, I knew the likelihood of him walking for free was going to happen. And another thing to look at, too, we overvalue our players, man. Overvalue our players. Bradley Beal. I mean, that's the biggest overvalued piece ever, man. I mean, the guy wasn't the number one option. Then you turn around and give him a Supermax. Then you give him a Supermax with the no trade clause. I mean, which now looks like not only the worst contract in the NBA, it's the worst contract in NBA history.
Let me tell you, man. If I had the time, you had the time, we'd be on this podcast for at least like 5-6 hours talking about that damn contract all along, right? And it's funny because last pod we was talking with Ed about like all these different things about your best memory, your worst memory. I think I put that in the back of my head because like I just as much, and let me just set the record straight. I really appreciate everything that Bill's done. Like, like Bill, he repped the city. Same with like when you thought about John and him, you just thought like, all right, man, we gonna get there eventually. It just didn't happen. So then sometimes you just gotta accept the reality. And I'm not gonna blame any player for getting their money. Like get your cash, like support your family, do what you gotta do. But man, from the front office perspective, when you think about who's the cat from the Spurs that got like 4 first-round picks to go to Atlanta? It was DeJounte Murray?
Oh, DeJounte Murray, yeah.
I'm thinking like Bill got to at least get like at least 4, if not 5. So when you think about like just missing the mark on the trade time frame, but trying to make him the franchise, it just wasn't. That's the old front office, but it just wasn't a good thing. So yeah, and I get what you're saying. Let me see, what do we got here? We got to talk about it. I think this was a really good signing. The Sadiq Bey.
Oh, man.
Now, first of all, local DMV kid, right?
Yeah.
The Sadiq Bey signing was like a pleasant surprise. You know how you just kind of like, you don't expect nothing in the morning. You having your morning coffee, and all of a sudden, you just all of a sudden you get that little notification. You just like, this is nice. This is nice. And I was just like, okay, this is a good signing. I know he's hurt, right?
ACL surgery.
ACL surgery. So he's not going to get back into it. But you think about his age. You think about what he can do on the court. Really good with a 3-and-D guy.
Oh, yeah.
I think he could bring a lot. And then I always think like anytime, it doesn't matter where you're at, a player comes back home, right? He's going to put everything he has because he's home.
Oh yeah.
So what do you think about signing?
I mean, you tell that to Chase Young, man, because just saying. But
hey, look, man. First of all, I get it. This is the Chocolate City Hoops podcast. It's hoops. I'm an Eagles fan. I'm gonna let everybody know that right now. You can say whatever you want to say. I'm an Eagles fan. So what we not about to do is have somebody who's a Commanders fan come over here and start talking Commanders stuff.
Look.
Back.
But now, getting back to Sadiq Bey, man, I think the injury had a lot to do with him being here because his price tag without the injury, would have been a lot higher. He can ball. He can straight up ball, 25 years old. He could be a replacement for somebody, whether it's for Denny or whether it's for Kuzma when he eventually gets traded. But he should be part of the future because he's still a young player. And here's the thing, and this is what I talk about on my show a lot, is timeline. At first, we thought that Denny was part of the timeline, 23 years old. You look at Kispert, young. Rui already got traded. Johnny Davis, lower. But you look at Kispert, you look at even Jordan Poole and say, oh, absolutely, because none of these guys are even close to their prime. They already shown they can play at a high level. But if you look at the fact that all 5 draft choices underneath Will Dawkins, none of them can drink. So, they're young, man. The timeline has changed.
It's funny because Ed said the same thing, and he caught me off guard because they can't. I was like, you want some more? He's like, no, they can't drink. So I'm like, oh, yeah. And you kind of forget because, it's a grown man league. It's a grown man sport. But also at the same time, you realize that these are, I don't want to call them kids, but young men, young adults. You know what I'm saying, coming into the league. But, dang, they're not even 21 yet. So again, like you said, young, the timeline. You see the vision and where they're going.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Absolutely. So, looking at Sadiq Bey, even Jordan Poole, if you look at the contracts of a lot of these vets, Jonas, 3 years, right? Jordan Poole, 3 years. Kyle Kuzma, 3 years. Sadiq Bey, 3 years. The reason for that, what happens in 3 years? Bilal Bali's up for that extension, man. So they're trying to clear the books. They're trying to flip these guys, get a lot of assets back because you're going to have to start paying these guys eventually. Bilal, he's very raw, but I think he's going to develop into something. The year after that is Alex Sarr, Bob Carrington's after that. Year after that, you're going to have Cooper Flagg or Ace Bailey. So they're freeing up money. So Will Dawkins doing his thing. And that's the most refreshing part, man, is that you finally have adults in the building. Ernie Grunfeld missed pick after pick. He traded away first-round picks like it was candy. Look at this, man. Remember the year that Steph Curry came out? We could have had him. But we traded the picks for what? Mike Miller and Randy Foye.
Man.
We could have got Klay Thompson. John Wall said, go get Klay Thompson. 3-and-D guy. Put him on the wing. Boom. You imagine him with Bradley Beal and John Wall? Easy money. Paul George. He advocated for us to trade for him. The list goes on. So,
and Paul George wanted to play with Wall.
Wanted to play with him. You put Paul George in this team, man. That's a championship team.
Oh yeah, we look. This a whole different podcast. We ain't talking about the future or the timeline. We talking about
absolutely.
All right, we either done won a championship or we talking about oh man, we won role player piece here or two, bench player away from making it, man. But that's the state of the Wizards.
Ernie was just notorious for missing on picks, man. John Vesley. Come on. But the thing is, a lot of Wizards fans now, they don't know how to feel because, they're ready for a rebuild, but they don't want to wait because it's going to take a while, man. And the reason for that is we have never been through a proper rebuild. Ernie Grunfeld never properly rebuilt this team.
It did Tommy.
And even if you look at Tommy Shepard, Tommy Shepard, his draft game wasn't bad because the problem with his picks, he needed guys that can be immediate impact guys. You can't
not development. Right.
Denny need to be developed.
Right.
Corey Kispert needed to be developed. Johnny Davis still needs to be developed. Rui had to be developed. So, they didn't match the timeline that he had. So now, they're finally resetting everything and say, look, this is the timeline. We're looking at 18, 19, 20 years old. We're going to give them, and going back to Brian Keefe, I was big on Brian Keefe. I was a big catalyst for Brian Keefe. The reason for that, look at his resume. OKC, James Harden, KD, Russell Westbrook. They don't develop without him. Boston, KP. No, not Boston, but when KP was in New York with the Knicks, KP. Brandon Ingram. This goes on. He has an immaculate record of developing guys who are not only developing to be starters, but all-stars and future Hall of Famers. You look at OKC, all 3 of those guys are probably headed to the Hall of Fame.
Probably.
You know what I mean? So
most definitely.
His track record speaks for itself. And I kind of compare it to Brett Brown, man, with the 76ers, where you had that development
process.
Coach. And then when it came time to hiring that Doc Rivers and that highlight coach, you can do so. But Brian Keefe's going to develop these guys, man. So, talking to Wizards fans, it's going to take time. It's going to take some time.
And I think that's the thing, right? Let me take it from I'm a pure fan, right? Because that's what the case is. You want the rebuild, and you say you want the rebuild, but you don't want to. It's like the process. You don't want to do what it takes to wait and be patient for that rebuild. You want somebody to come out as a rookie and just be hey, this is a star. You want them to start, putting in the work. And I know more sensible, more knowledgeable with Wizards fans, we don't always think that way. We know it's going to take some time. I'll be honest though, there have been some times where I think to myself like, we get that first overall pick, we get Coop, right?
Oh.
Maybe that's a bold prediction for next year, but maybe we slip into that play-in because now depending on who's there, right? Maybe that's what it looks like in Bilal, and we'll get to that later. I think Bilal is going to be like a number, like basically like a number 2. I think a B, like 1B. I think he's going to be really good. But yeah, just the timeline, like you said, I think you want the rebuild. You got to be patient with the rebuild. I mean, the front office outside of the Tyus fumble has already proven to me that they know what they're doing.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they both came from the OKC. I think Michael Winger before he was with OKC, but came from the Clippers when we hired him. So you saw what they were doing. So I mean, look, we ain't gonna know till we know. Let's give it like another year or two.
Oh yeah.
See how things are looking. I tell you right now, if we going based off of the track record of their like first official like year and then a draft, I get it. The Denny trade that hurt some people.
Oh yeah.
But Bub is a dog. I like Keyshawn George.
Oh yeah.
That boy can shoot. And look, you draft Sarr for potential. You know it's gonna take some time to development.
Yeah.
It is what it is. All right. So all right, let's go ahead and get to the next. I mean, this signing I actually like, and I really hope to have him on the pod one of these days because I actually feel like he's a cool cat. It's Anthony Gill. Like Anthony Gill, you're not gonna see him on the court that much, but like he's gonna be that. He's like that leader of men. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like even though you got vets like all over, right? I mean, I guess now you can consider like Kispert a vet, right? He's been in the league. Like this is his contract year, right? Poole's a vet.
Yeah.
You know that Kuz is a vet, right? But they all have like different roles, and like they're gonna be on the court performing them roles, like. And maybe it's because I resonate, because I'll be honest with y'all. I used to play AAU ball, and I warmed the hell out of that bench. Like, I'm telling you, like, I was a bench warmer. But I'll tell you one thing my coach always taught me, though. It's like, you part of the team for a reason.
Oh, yeah.
There's multiple different roles. And I guess that's why I resonate with Gil, because, I used to be that dude, like, hey, man, like, as soon as the timeout, get up, give everybody a high five, be the first one off the bench, congratulating, getting hyped, because at the end of the day, like that's what a team is. That's what a team sport is. Yeah. So, point is, I like the Anthony Gill signing for that reason. I mean, I think if I remember correctly, they even did a video of these like who's your favorite like teammate or who's like the most supportive, and I think they said Anthony Gill. What you think?
I agree. I mean, cool brother, number one. I met him at the practice facility. Great brother. I mean, down to earth, but. I'm with you. If you look at the sidelines, he doesn't even sit on the bench. He's on the knee, on the baseline. Yeah. But if you look at every time out, first guy out there, talking to young guys, high-fiving, this guy is the perfect example of a future coach, in my opinion. Because you look at future coaches, most of your coaches are guys who've been on the bench because they had nothing but time to sit there and soak in the game, the X's and the O's. And he's one of those guys, man, where you just see future coach. Yeah. But he's perfect leader on the bench for these young guys because – he's a guy where, as a player, he's not going to wow you. You know what I mean? He's that hard-nosed guy.
He's going to do what you expect him to do.
What he can provide is not what you're going to find in a statistical category. You know what I mean? But he's a guy that you need on the team like the Wizards. You need that veteran on the bench who's going to talk to guys on the side and say, look, this is what you need to do. This, and have that angle. Because there's only certain angles you can't get on the court. When you're on the bench, like I said, a lot of players, like, Steve Kerr, he wasn't like... I don't know, he wasn't an all-star, but he was kind of a role guy with the Chicago Bulls. You know what I mean? Even with San Antonio after MJ left. But he's a guy, he would tell you that time on the bench, he had time to sit there and digest the game, break the game down, to look at the X and O's, to actually watch plays go through the motion, you know what I mean? So he's going to be a coach one day. And I'm really high on Anthony Gill, man.
It's either he's going to be a coach or that man going to be one hell of a politician.
I'm telling you.
I'll tell you right now, like when you hear him speak, you just be like, I believe you, Gil.
Right.
I'm like, you're right.
You got my vote.
Right, you got my vote. Hey, look, man, was local, like not local, but he went to UVA.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, highly educated man.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? Anytime he speaks, it's like, he's coming from a good place, and
yes, sir.
A lot of the teammates respect him. So again, like really happy about that signing, because again, it's like sometimes I wouldn't call him an underdog, but sometimes if you're a real hardcore fan or if you played the game of ball and you like me, like I said, you was a grade A bench warmer. You know what I'm saying? Like, that, hey, I'm gonna support you, but also when your number is called, hey, you know what I'm about to go do.
Absolutely.
Like at the end of the day, I'm gonna go be tough. I'm gonna go be physical. I'm gonna do the right things, right? Like you said, that's a good player. He's not gonna wow you, but the hallmark of a future coach for real, because he's gonna take all those little things and it may not do them great, but he's gonna do them well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and switch it up a little bit. Let's go ahead. Actually, before we even get to the Olympics, while we're still kind of on the roster, let me ask you this real quick. All right, we talked a little bit about the news. What do you think is the starting lineup, right? Because now we're in August, next month, right? I think training camp doesn't start till the end of September, maybe, or early October.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but right now the way it's looking, who's your starting five? Who's the first one off the bench?
Ooh, good question, man. Rolling point guard Jordan Poole, JP13.
Yep.
He's gonna run that. He's gonna run, man. He's gonna run. We need that pace to be fast.
Okay.
Two guard, I'm going Bilal. I mean, because if you look at the backcourt last year, you know what happens when you have an undersized backcourt that doesn't defend.
Right.
Terrible, abysmal, right? I mean, Bilal's going to defend. He's going to take a lot of pressure off of Poole because Poole, more effort on defense, but he's not that lockdown guy at point. I mean, Bilal's going to cover that. Yeah. And then in the flip side with the scoring, Jordan Poole's going to be that guy scoring in that backcourt where Bilal can kind of take his time and get his offense going. Not three guard, Lord. Small forward, I'm rolling with Kuz. Because Kuz is about to eat on that wing, man. I mean, I'm telling you.
Kuz done played the four so much being here, and I think kind of like that shift of kind of like that stretch four. I forgot that he used to play the three coming out of college. Yeah. Like, you kind of forget that. But yeah, no,
he's going to eat, man. He's going to have a career year. And that's why I think they're going to flip him this year because his value is going to go up.
Because he played the three.
I'm telling you. Because it gives him a lot more opportunity to be that guy. Because he's going to be number one scoring off. Him and JP going to be number one, number two. I'm going to roll Saul out there for four, man. Because number two overall, you start this guy.
Yep.
He struggled. And here's the thing with Sar. 5 summer league games. I mean, the sample size is way too small.
I got you.
I mean, come on.
But tell Wiz Twitter that.
Oh, Lord. Man, look. I mean, it's way too small. I mean,
right.
Obviously, look, if you didn't know, coming out of the draft, he's raw.
Yeah.
Very raw.
Yeah.
Same thing with Bilal. Look, Bilal's still going to have a lot of growing pains this year coming up. Now, you want to see some progression, right? But he's not close to breaking out. He ain't going to break out for another year or two. Bilal is very, very raw. So, Sar, you see the potential, especially as a stretch. He's still got the rim protection. That's going to be the first part of his game you're going to see early on, rim protection. In defense, he's a lot more polished. His offense game is going to come along. So, yeah, I'm rolling with Sar at 4 and 5, Jonas.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think the question at 5 is not so much who starting out, it's who starts after Jonas gets traded.
Right.
Because, where do you see Rashawn? I don't see Rashawn stepping in being starter. So, when you look at that, do you roll with Bagley or do you roll with Tristan Vucevic? That's the question.
I was thinking about that a little bit, and I think overall, you're right. I think I agree with you with the starting lineup, right? And we'll get to the 6 man in a second. But you're right. I think Sar prefers the 4 anyway.
Oh yeah.
Long term, see, here's what I'm thinking. I don't know if they want him to eventually play the 5, because here's what I'm thinking, right? And now we're kind of getting into uncharted territory with the next draft, right? Because then you start thinking about, like, depends on what pick they get, right? Do they go with one of the point guards where they got Dylan Harper, who's going to Rutgers? You got with the French kid, I think Noir, right? Yep. Then you obviously you got Coop, right? Ace Bailey. I think there's the center that's going with Coop to Duke, Kulam Malak, I think.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
It really depends on. I think we're getting into uncharted territory, but we're gonna really find out more after the trade deadline, like you said.
Absolutely.
On because if they decide to keep him at the 4 and then they trot out like Bagley or Vooch or Holmes or something like that, then I think we might know more of, like, all right, like they really might just see him at the 4, especially if Kuz get traded, right? Because then, like, even if they do get the number 1 overall pick and they go Coop, they'll probably just put him at the 3, or maybe there might be some sort of hybrid there, right? But no, I agree with you. We'll more than likely just kind of see what happens after the trade deadline. But starting off, definitely, like, Jonas gonna be playing that 5. He'll probably have to. He gonna teach Sar a couple of things for sure. What about 6 man?
Oh, Malcolm Brogdon. I mean, you need him on that second unit with Bub. Bub needs to soak in all the information he can get from Malcolm Brogdon, because, again, Malcolm Brogdon, UVA guy. He's been in the league a while. He's got a 6 man of the year award from Boston.
Yep.
I mean, he's been around the block, so he knows the intricacies of not only on the on court stuff, but off the court. You know, he can rub off on Jordan Poole because I think Jordan Poole is a fringe all-star, man, and you need a guy like a Malcolm Brogdon. Because it's not so much on the court stuff, but a lot of these guys don't understand the off the court stuff.
Yeah.
Like look at Zion. You know, you give him a dietitian and a chef. This guy is a future Hall of Famer because he's got that type of potential.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing with him is the fork.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You take that fork away. I mean, he's up there. You know what I mean?
I don't know if it's just the fork, man. I think that boy, man, that dude got. I mean, we're not gonna get to it. That's not DMV. But, right, in fact, you know what? I'm gonna leave it alone. I'm gonna leave it alone because when I think about Zion, man, and I think about when Wizards fans really wanted him, because we were like, I think one ping pong ball. We've been one ping pong ball away. That's a whole nother subject, but we've been one ping pong ball away from him. We were one away from Wemby. You know, but anyways, I agree with you. I agree with you, man. Here's the thing though. Do you think that there could be, cause the same thing that they did with Tyus, maybe they learned their lesson. Instead of trotting Poole out there, he becomes your sixth man at the beginning of the season because they want to put Malcolm Brogdon out there, and then he's starting with Bilal, or you know maybe he's right there, you know maybe trying to do this. They did the Tyus and Poole, maybe they're doing that, and then you know maybe Bilal shifts to 3. Do you think that there's a possibility they do that?
Oh, absolutely. You put Brogdon out there starting point guard and kind of showcase him and let him run by. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because I mean, Jordan Poole shows that he's versatile.
Yeah.
You know, he can be that sixth man. I mean, that was his position in Golden State, and he did it well. And he's shown that just like when Steph went down, he came up and did a good job. Same thing with Tyus Jones. You know, he came in and he did well in the second half. And that's one thing. You know, when you look at Jordan Poole and his sample size last season, it cancels itself out because in the first half, I mean, it was bad, man. But second half, he showed that he can handle the criticism. Yeah. Which, if you look at young players, confidence is big, man. Denny was a player perfect with confidence. When his confidence was low, he was unplayable. When his confidence was high, he was a good player. And, you know, these young guys, you look at Ben Simmons, where all they asked him to do was add a jump shot, and it broke him down, and where you got a back injury every year. So
I still remember when people were begging for us, or like, yo, go trade for Ben. And I'm like, what do y'all see that I don't see? Like, and you start questioning yourself, like, what is wrong with my eyes? Because my eyes must not be working, because what I've seen in Philly, what I've seen in Brooklyn, I'm like, this can't be it. And I think maybe, because I remember there were some wild discussions, like talking about maybe we should trade Ben for John. And I'm like, y'all, somebody's smoking something. I know they made it legal in D.C., but y'all, that don't mean y'all just go crazy.
Yeah.
Nah, man, that ain't it. That ain't it. But yeah, I mean, look. Going back to the point, I do see there being a scenario where that can definitely happen. I'll go a route a little bit different. I think the sixth man off the bench is going to be cheating. I think I'm giving two answers. Who I want it to be, I want it to be Bub. I just like, I mean, man, I'm like a Bub stan at this point. Like, his game, his toughness, boys from B-more. He know what he's doing. Yeah. And then like just what I've seen in the summer league, and again, this is just the fan part of me, man. I want to see him out there as much as possible. Like I want him to be the first person off the bench. Now, who will it most likely be? Because I ain't the GM. It's probably gonna be, like you said, if Malcolm isn't starting, it's gonna be him. Yeah. If not, it's probably gonna be Kispert. And the reason why I think it's gonna be Kispert is too because you going back to timeline. Kispert's a little older than the rest. Yeah. Right. I like Kispert for what he brings. Like the personality, like the cool boy kind of attitude. But more than likely, teams are probably gonna be looking at him too, right? I mean, I think any team could use a sharpshooter, right? I mean, and where we're at in the timeline, it kind of makes sense because even if we do wait, let's say we do wait, and Corey decides, they decide to stick with Corey. Corey's gonna be like 28, 29, maybe. I don't know how old he is now, but he's gonna be up there by the time it's all said and done. So, yeah, I mean, let me see. Let's go through it. You said Poole,
yes, sir.
Bilal, Kuz, Sar, Jonas.
Got it.
All right. I'm just going to go Brogdon. I'm going to go Bilal. I'll go Kuz, Sar, Jonas. And then first person off the bench in that scenario. Yeah. I mean, I know. Damn, you know what? I just said it's going to be, you know what? Never mind. It's going to be Poole. I'm just going to change it. It's going to be Poole all the way. I want Poole to be PG. I think Poole's going to be the PG. I'm just going to go with that. All right. Now, let's get to the Olympics, right? And this is going to be my favorite topic because it's so funny how like, you know, this isn't a political forum, right? So we're not gonna make it political.
Oh, yeah.
But you know, everyone's got their ins, their outs with the state of the country and things like that, right? But man, what'll bring you close together no faster is them damn Olympics, boy. Like I'll be like USA.
Oh, yeah.
It don't matter. I could be watching water polo. I could be watching underwater basket weaving. I don't know. I could be watching anything, man. And here's what I'm trying to tell you: I'm rooting for everybody US, like every single time. And so we get to basketball, right? And let's start off with this, right? Because I feel like we need to start off with who's the most dominant. And I feel like I'm right about this when I say this. I believe I just saw this. But the women, right? Let's start off with the women's USA national team. 8 straight golds. Talk about like the dominance, right? And I think nobody's talking about it enough. Like I'm really happy where the WNBA is going now because growing up, right, it wasn't just the Wizards. Like my pops used to take me to like when the Mystics first came around, took me to Mystics games as well. So it's like it was Wizards, Mystics. We was going to all sorts of games. So I'm really happy that like women's basketball is starting to climb up, right? Obviously when the Mystics won the championship, man, boy, was I hyped. But going back to the women's basketball, right? Like I want to say congratulations to them. 8 straight golds, just absolutely amazing, man. And I just couldn't say much more about that. What you got?
Oh, I love to see the women finally getting their recognition for stepping up and being ballers, man. I mean, I will admit that I wasn't always the biggest women's basketball fan.
Yeah.
Not that I don't have any problem with that, you know what I mean? Because I feel like they can do whatever they want and they can do it at a high level. Yeah. I'm with it, man.
Yeah.
But I found out not too long ago I got a cousin plays in WNBA, really? Diamond the Shields.
Oh.
Yeah, man. So that got me rooting a little bit, but I like, a lot of players going through DC playing for the Mystics. I like them. Not only on the court, but off the court.
Yeah.
It started, I like the Elena Beard.
Elena Beard.
I was a big fan of her. So, I'm slowly getting into women's basketball. Yeah. But here's the thing, man. Ball's life. I mean, look, the biggest thing about basketball, as opposed to Major League Baseball, the NFL, is the diversity. You got players coming out from the Balkans, every part of Europe, South America, Africa, the Middle East, Asia. And it's different now because the U.S. used to lead the way. Yeah. You used to crush people. Yeah. Now, we're talking about AAU. The biggest thing now with international basketball, as opposed to American basketball, is that these players come up from overseas, man.
They're professionals at like 14.
They know how to play the integral parts of basketball. They know how to use a pivot foot.
Yep.
We lost that identity, man. In AAU, they're trying to teach these kids how to shoot logo threes, dunk and all this, but they don't know how many steps to take in the paint. These guys in Europe, man, they're playing like a business. They're practicing, and that's the biggest thing, is practice. Is that they practice more than they play. They practice all the time. They're fine-tuning their skills all the time. Yeah. And that's why, the gap between American players and European players is shortened, man, because last 5 MVPs, where are they from?
Europe.
They
overseas.
And, they're coming, man. And so, as far as American basketball, I think the women started a spark.
Yeah.
We need to get our act together. We need to get back to being the forefront. We want to be the top. Because the world's coming after us. And women, I'm telling you, man, Asia Wilson, man, that's my go-to.
Yeah, look, Asia Wilson, Stewie.
Oh, yeah.
Inesco, right? Yeah. I mean, I like so many young Collier, right, on that team. I mean, like the dominance on that team, right? And we'll get to USA, but I mean, to the men's side, but for the women's side, I mean, you just talk about like dominance throughout, and you think about all the great players that have played on that team. That maybe now people are starting to think about them more, or now people are starting to pay more attention. It's just absolutely amazing. I'll tell you one thing right now, man. Though, like my favorite time, and I'll never forget this because I think this is when I started paying more closely attention to women's college basketball. Right, like when Della Dawn, when she was playing, and then I think she was when she got drafted to Chicago, and then she came because she wanted to be closer back home. She came to the Mystics. I'll tell you, I was so hyped, man. And then watching her, I think she played for Tokyo. I think she did. Watching that was dope. That was fun as well, man. But again, right, congrats to the women's team.
Absolutely.
Congrats on that dominance. I know France gave y'all a little scare, but y'all still came out, right? A win's a win, a dub's a dub. So congrats to them. They didn't have anybody from the DMV on the team. But, either way, it don't matter, right? We ain't going to hold y'all to that. A dub's a dub, and we appreciate y'all and for putting USA on the map for so long. All right, so let's get to the men's, right? FIBA World Championship wasn't looking good, right? We come out, right? This is supposed to be the redemption team.
Oh, yeah.
So, look, LeBron, Curry, KD, Ant, Book, right? All these great players that are playing in the league today. We kind of knew what they was going to do. But I'll tell you one thing. I'll say this, and this goes for the women's as well. This Olympics, I can truly say, I have never, ever seen greater basketball. And I'm like, to me, this like when the Dream Team went up in '92 and they just dominated everybody. That's one thing. But what they did to try to bring, basketball to a more global scale, right? Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, Magic, right? What they were trying to do, this is what they were doing. Because now, that was back in '92. Now we're talking about like 20 plus years later, and here we are. Like you said, the last couple, like 4 or 5 MVPs have all been European.
Absolutely.
Right? These teams ain't scared of us.
Nah.
These teams ain't going nowhere. They're not backing down. And I'll tell you right now, whether it was from the men or from the women, these European teams, these teams around the world were given, honestly, everything they had. And if it wasn't for some heroics that, what I'm saying, whether it was Curry or Bron or KD, we was looking like we was going to lose. But let's talk about, again, going back to the men's, right? You saw all the games. You saw against Serbia. You saw against Sudan. You saw against the French team and for the gold. What was your take? I know I said a lot, but what was your take from everything?
Honestly, they're talented. Very ultra talented. D Book, the list goes on in that team, man. But, I think the difference between U.S. basketball and international basketball is that when you look at teams like Slovenia or even Team Canada, you'll have 4 or 5 guys who are legit guys or legit in the NBA. And the rest of these guys are trying to make it.
Yeah.
So you look at Team USA, you're trying to balance all these different egos, all these different stars. That's tough to do.
Yeah.
That's tough to do. And that can be kind of a detriment to a certain degree because, people getting on, Jason Tatum not playing. But then people forget that, look, the NBA is a brand. They're going to put LeBron out there in forefront, man.
Yeah.
And they're not quick to put a future star out there like a D Book or an Ant Edwards yet or a Jason Tatum because still LeBron's time right now. You know what I mean? It is what it is. It's a business thing.
Still king of the court.
Because we all know that the future face is going to be Anthony Edwards. This kid is unreal. So, that's the biggest thing is that you're trying to balance egos. You're trying to balance the business side of the NBA because there's just so many different factors that you find with USA basketball as opposed to Sylvania. They just trying to be in it, man. They're just trying to show up. Team Canada, Team Canada 10 years ago, I couldn't even tell you who's on the team. Now you got guys that are legit ballers, man.
And that's the thing, like you brought something up that's a good point, is that there's more international or more NBA players in the Olympics than I think ever before. I think they said it was like 80 plus. I think back in the day, I don't know what their number was, but it wasn't no damn 86 or 80 plus, right? So now you're talking about, look, you got other MVP. You had Jokic on the Serbia team really giving it everything he had.
Yeah.
You had Bogdanovic. Look, first of all, that game was mad disrespectful. All right? Now, I'm going to say this because I know Carmelo, New York, right? But Baltimore too, right? You know what I'm saying? The 3-point Bogdanovic was given, that was mad disrespectful. And it's like, you woke up the sleeping giant, the beast. And like once LeBron and the team saw that, it was like, oh nah. And he started giving them the business, man. So like, but that just goes to show you the competition's on a different level. Yeah. And to me, that France, whether it was the Serbia game, it started off with Brazil. For the last 3 games, it was Brazil, Serbia, and then France, right?
Yes, sir.
All 3 of those games, but specifically that Serbia and that France game, I have never seen better basketball in my life. And it's funny because my wife, right, she's from the Bay. She loves Golden State. That last game, I asked her, I was like, is this what it feels like to be a Curry fan? I was like, I've never cheered harder for Curry in my life. I was like, so this is what it feels like. She's like, now you know. Yeah, no, those heroics were really good. And I just love it. So let's go to KD, right? And I gotta let me see if I can find it. I definitely have something here, And from Shams, it says, Team USA's Kevin Durant becomes the first player to win 4 gold medals in men's Olympic basketball history. Durant has also scored the most points in USA Olympic history. The 2-time NBA Finals MVP cements himself as the most decorated U.S. basketball player ever. First of all, DMV native. Kevin Durant, the best DMV native of all time, right?
Absolutely.
Like, basketball, like I don't care. It's undebatable. I think what he did just can't be. It's just greatness. Like you're seeing greatness on the court, and I know a lot of people like to get on KD about a lot of different things, but I mean, I don't know, man. He's got. I mean, I can't think of anybody who's the greatest on the court. I mean, and what he did in the Olympics. Second he came out, he just gave, especially in the prelim games, just giving Serbia the business, man. I mean, what you got?
One of the best pure scorers of all time.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a walking bucket. I mean, people get on him about Golden State and all this, but it's called free agency for a reason. Wherever you want to go, right? So, I mean, KD, the list goes on with his resume, man. Mm-hmm. He's a baller, man. I mean, to me, he's one of the best scorers ever.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just that pure scorer, man.
Right.
So, him and all those achievements, I'm not surprised. And it's good to see because, to a certain degree, we're living through KD. Because, D.C. is one of those cities where it's a nation's cap, but we don't ever get that respect.
Right.
We're on the same coast as Philly, New York, so, Boston. So when you think of sports, Miami. So when you think of sports towns, it's always Philly, New York. People don't realize how much a vibrant fan base we have in D.C., man. Mm-hmm. You go back in the day, I ain't going to say the name, but the former name of the Commanders, people forget how powerful that organization was. That was one of the most powerful organizations in sports, period. I mean, Jack King Cook, man.
This is the only time I'm going to agree with you. All right, let it be known again. I am an Eagles fan. I don't know how many times I got to say this. So get this on record. This is the only time that I agree. In the 90s, you got it.
See, look.
You got it.
But I mean, Washington sports, period. I mean, it's power here.
Yeah.
And so we often overlooked. Kevin Durant is letting people know that PG County, D.C., VA, man. I mean, even if you want to go so far as the Tidewater area, Chesapeake, and Newport News, 757, man. Yep. There's ballers here. There's talent here.
There is.
And, people talk about New York being the mecca of basketball. I don't know about all that, man. I think D.C., if you go back in the day, D.C.'s produced.
Mark my words. I'm going to have you back on here, and we're gonna talk about DMV natives and sports and what they got. We definitely going to talk about that. And that's going to be a whole pod on this stuff. I can't wait to have that conversation. No, but, man, you're right? D.C. on the map, we're living through. It's unfortunate. I mean, I can't blame him for not wanting to come back. At least that's what's been reported in the past. I remember the whole 2016, KD to DC. But point is, right, we're not going to get into that. Just want to say congratulations to KD.
Absolutely.
On everything. Thank you for putting the DMV on the map even further than what it already has been. And, yeah, man, the Olympics was just great. Now, on the flip side, right, let's get to Bilal. Right? Look, there's been kind of ongoing since the Olympics have ended. A lot of people were saying that, was it the wrong choice? Bilal didn't play that much in the Olympics, right? Did we make the right pick? Are we going to regret, the progression? First of all, right, let me say this. And I want to be as clear as possible. What, he's like 19, about to turn 20?
Either about to or did. Yeah. 20, yeah.
So we're talking about a young man after his rookie season making the Olympics, right? There was a couple series in there, especially during that gold medal game. Oh, yeah. He was on Curry, and he was strapping Curry. Now Curry's Curry, but at the end of the day, he made the team. He was on the team, and he won silver. So I'm trying to figure out, like, what's the big deal? I mean, maybe you could tell me, like, what? Maybe I'm not as plugged in. Like, what's the big deal? I don't understand why, like, most aren't happy for Bilal in this progression because, to me, he had a better rookie season than I thought, especially from what the reports are coming out, right? Kind of started off like Denny did when he first came out, the 3-and-D mold, sit in the corner, shoot threes, play defense, right? That's what we want you to start off doing, like, get that right.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Better rookie season. Ended up starting a few games. I think he started maybe the rest of the season. I can't remember, but he started doing better. Yeah. And then we're talking about this summer. He tries for the Olympic team, makes the Olympic team, and he's actually playing. It ain't like he's never playing. He's actually doing all right. And I don't know, maybe there's something I'm missing.
Yeah, you know how it is, man. I mean, people want results quick.
Yeah.
And this rebuild is going to take a while. And that's why it kind of goes to the previous point, man, is that we've never been through a rebuild. We don't know what to expect out of a true rebuild. they're starting to hit picks. Second round pick, Tristan Vucevic. I mean, look at every second round pick we've had. They're all milk cartons. I mean, I don't even
Draft
know
and stash. Draft and stash every single time.
I don't know where Yannick Zosa is, man. You got to put PBR.
I forgot who that was until you just been. I was like, who? Yo, Yannick, yeah.
So it takes time, man. Yeah, best examples, man. Look at Golden State, right? As you worry about Golden State, Stephen Curry at first was hurt all the time.
Ankle injuries, that's right.
Ankle injuries all the time. They didn't know what to do with him. They started slow. They got Clay in there. Clay was very raw too. He was polished, but he was very raw. Draymond, the list goes on. Draymond proves the value of the perfect role player.
Second,
right? Every team needs a Anthony Gill. Every team needs a Eugene Emery. Every team needs a Draymond Green. Hate him or love him. Everybody needs a hard-nosed guy who's going to be that leader without having the need.
And look where he's at. We're talking about a future Hall of Famer.
There you go. I mean, just being a role guy, being that glue guy.
Yep.
So Golden State, they built through the draft. And they took time and they developed them. And even when they struggled, like Stephen Curry, the injuries, they found ways to make them better, ways to get them involved. So when it's time to make that move, they made that move, whether it was, Wiggins, whether it was Harrison Barnes, whether it was Iguodala, which was a very important move. So looking at the Wizards, when you look at the accumulation of draft picks, because it's all on the OKC model, the draft picks do a couple things for us. Number one, we can acquire young talent. Number two, when it comes to getting that Paul George, we got the picks to flip. Where before we didn't have the picks to go get Paul George. No. I mean, it was just a dream at that point.
When was the last? In fact, when was the last time we even had our first round pick back? I can't even remember. That was like. But point is, we would always Ernie, man, he was flipping them first round picks for for
nothing,
candy,
man.
for just pieces of candy, right? And we didn't have a first round pick for felt like so long. So no, I mean, look, I get everything that you're saying, and look, people want progress fast.
Oh yeah.
But I'll say this, right? I'm proud of Bilal. Like, young
Absolutely.
kid, made the national team. You just see the glimpses of what he's going to be and what he can be and what he already is. Like, he's already, I mean, he was a lottery pick for a reason. Yeah. He's already better than a lot of those cats that got drafted in last year's draft when he got drafted. So, yeah, I mean, look, I'm not concerned. I think this is going to be a good year for him. I think you'll see more from him this year.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I definitely think you'll see more points. I definitely think you'll see more rebounds. But yeah, anyways, congrats to Bilal on the silver. He came in second, but hey, it is what it is, man. That was bound to happen. Maybe in 2028. Got love, man. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and end the podcast with a trivia question.
Okay.
Like we did with my boy Ed. So, all right. Who was the last Wizards player to make a USA Olympic roster?
Good question. Man, you're going to have to make me think for a little bit.
Yeah.
Oh, man, USA team.
Now, I'll give you a hint.
Uh-huh.
He made the roster, but he didn't play.
I'm running through names, too, man. Oh, man, who was it? It was,
It's easier than you think. I'll tell you that.
I want to say John Wall, man.
Nah. Close, though.
Bill? Okay.
Yeah, in 2020, he made the roster, but then he got COVID.
He got COVID.
Then he couldn't play no more. I don't know who he got replaced with. It might have been Book. I don't know, but either way.
Yeah, he got replaced by Book. Yeah.
He made the roster. He was gonna be in that Book mode of that role player playing defense, and didn't make it. All right, I'm gonna ask you one more question, and then we'll go ahead and get you out of here.
Yes, sir.
Hey, this is gonna be a little bit harder though. So now that I asked you who made the roster and didn't play, who was the last Wizard who was actually, on the Wizards roster at the time to make the U.S. Olympics and play? You're not going to get this because I didn't even know this.
Oh, man.
I'll say this.
Have an impact on the team?
I'll tell you this right now. It was before our time. So I have to give that trick question because I gave the same.
Throw it out there. Moses Malone.
Nope. Tom McMillan.
Whoa.
Right. Look, he played for Team. Look, I just got this. Like, this from the internet. Like, don't fact check me. Right. It just said he played for Team USA during the 1972 Munich Olympics while he was with the Washington Bullets.
Oh yeah, that's way before my time.
Yeah, look, 1972. That was before even any of the championship was 1978, 1979. So yeah. But anyways, hey, B. Scott, my boy,
yes, sir.
Locked On. You want to plug anything before we head out?
No, man. Just representing Locked On Wizards, man. A lot of good content coming your way. The season, trying to get up there to the games, get up there to the practice facility, get that footage, man. But man, just patience. It's going to take a little bit, some patience, man, but I'm looking forward to the season, man. So.
Well, hey, man, thank you for coming on.
Yes, sir.
Again, this has been the Chocolate City Hoops podcast with my boy Brandon Scott. We out.